like we did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
I got to be helpful. I can be helpful for excuse for one individual teachers like fighting their own battle.
Yeah,
You know?
that's right. Then it's just something that has to be done.
Yeah.
We have hundreds of years of public education.
Yeah.
Going okay without.
Yeah.
if you have a school-wide policy, then it's easier to implement and enforce.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
We just have to say this.
Oh, sorry.
No, keep it going, keep it going.
Yep.
And we'll get over here.
Did it come from this way?
Yep.
Yeah.
That's great.
Oh, why does she like look so cute? I think I get ready on Sundays and SCC days.
You like this all of those.
Oh, we're close. Oh, but it's the camera's not like focused on you. It's like. Is it recording now?
Well, I like to speak out.
That's true. I don't need to force you to.
Just barely.
Okay.
Yes. I'm like kind of exhausted.
I'll probably try it.
No pressure. No pressure.
To Bogota.
On my own.
Did you?
Back-to-back
My
meetings.
friends' parents would
Hard.
Oh,
I
summer
always say
went
people
to
have
go
2 minutes.
Oh,
No.
this
Mine is
friend
10 minutes.
Next thing, I just saw you.
Okay, I think we're gonna
So
go ahead
awesome.
and get started, if that's okay. Welcome, guys. No, you're great. We're so glad you're here.
Just to make sure.
Yeah, you're great. Okay, welcome everyone. We are happy to have you guys all here. Over there. Oh, okay. But it's okay. Maybe for ease of walking in and out, but I hope everybody had a great break, and it feels like we were just barely here, but we're right back at it. So thank you all for coming, and I know that there's supposed to be a storm coming, so hopefully we can be timely and get out before too much damage is done. I think before we start, Jen, tell me if I'm wrong. Do I need someone need to make a motion to approve the agenda as approved?
I make a motion to approve the agenda as written. Second.
And then open for discussion. If you have a discussion, if not, if you see nothing, you just move on. Take a vote.
Okay, we're gonna go ahead. All in favor?
I really like Jen doing this. This is really nice.
Tight ship.
I don't have anything as far as public comment goes, and we're all here members as it is, so I think we'll just move on then down the agenda. Did everybody receive the minutes from last month? Anybody, do you want to make a motion to approve the minutes from last month? Oh, to approve the minutes. Okay.
I'm so sorry, I'm taking the next week.
Oh,
Rebecca.
Yeah,
Rebecca Anderson.
I know Natalie isn't here today, and so thank you, Annie, so much for doing the minutes. We really appreciate that.
And I'm happy to say.
Thank you. Open for discussion. Okay, all in favor? of approving the
Aye.
minutes? Okay, anyone opposed? Okay, great. Keep those all approved, Annie. Hello, come and join us. Okay, so this is we're gonna move fundraiser requests down just a second. Since you just, are you ready now, or do you want me to wait?
I'm ready, I was born ready.
That was perfect.
I just have two. One of them is for men's soccer. It's the banner sales that the girls did. It's the same fundraiser, but it's for the boys.
Okay, it goes along the
Yeah, that goes along the
fences
stadium.
of the stadium.
And then the other one is a similar fundraiser, but it's for baseball.
So banners along the baseball field? Okay. All right, does anyone have, looks like they are hoping to get $6,000 for, this is soccer,
Soccer, yeah.
and 12 for baseball. Does anybody have questions about these?
seem to be solid, easy money makers for us. Like, since I've been here, I cannot believe what a good fundraiser that always is for every team. So I just had to say, some of the other ones I'm a little hesitant about, but this seems really clean and good.
I think it looks great.
Yeah, me too.
Okay, so, do I need to make a motion on this?
Somebody does.
Somebody?
I'll make a motion to approve
Thank you.
the fundraiser.
Jenny each year tries to not make motions.
Yeah, right. I would never.
Oh, good.
Okay, anyone a second?
Second.
Okay, all in favor of approving soccer and
Aye.
baseball? Say aye.
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 Who seconded? Who seconded choose? 'Cause they
Choose one.
both went out.
David.
I'm just trying to.
Either one. Take you to close.
Anyone opposed? Okay, so both of those approved. I will sign those. Weird. No problem.
Wow, that was easy, Jen.
Good job. Okay,
Hooray.
all right. So as part of our SCC discussion, we will start with Kristen, who sent this resolution. Did all of you guys receive this in your email? She's also printed a copy for all of us. So if you're ready, Kristen, we'll just spend time over to you.
Yeah, and Kristen means Kristen and Elizabeth.
And Elizabeth.
Right?
Sure, yeah.
I hadn't talked to her, so I didn't
Yes.
put her name until I made sure she's okay, but the hard copy that I printed out doesn't include a couple of the pages that were mostly links. They just wouldn't be very helpful unless you were doing it on your computer. So one of those pages had links to a lot of the resources and websites that we have shot back and forth over the last over 12, 14, 15 months. And so I didn't print those out, but the first page is just kind of our main points. Tom's here. He's been a big part of this, even though he's not a member of the SCC, but we just feel like, I mean, we started this process, I think in October of 2022, and it just doesn't feel like it's moving. It's just taking a long time. So I thought maybe it would be helpful to actually get something concrete, which is why I typed up a resolution that we could either, I mean, I feel like you probably either know how you feel about this one way or the other. But, you know, if we can't get things moving here, you know, we've talked with the district to see if there maybe needs to be clarification on a district level. And I think this is on the agenda for the
January 23rd.
January
For
23rd.
the,
But I'd love, I mean, who knows what that's going to look like or how long that's going to take or what direction that would go. I'd love to see what we could do here at East. I missed last month's meeting. I understand this has been bumped again till March. Our goal for SIC.
Yeah.
I know our goal had originally been to have this in place before all these new freshmen came this year, which that didn't happen. And so I think I'm worried that March might be a little late with everything that SIC does at the end of the year to get ready for the catalog. But my hope is that we can just agree that cell phones in class isn't a great thing and be on board, not just as parents, but also as faculty. And I think it is, I think probably the most important reason that I think we need to do more than what we've been doing is I feel like it's very haphazard. I don't feel like we have really a cell phone policy. We have it on the books with the district, but there's nothing that's really being implemented here at East High. And I think leaving it to the teachers to decide classroom by classroom is problematic because one, I think it's why it hasn't happened yet. But two, I think that it's difficult to implement a policy and enforce it if there's not consistency as a school. Like it just doesn't work to be having some teachers sending kids phones to the office and then there's no system for like, how is the office staff handling those? And, you know, if we just were all on one page, I think it would be helpful. So I don't know that I need to go through all of this. I think everyone's pretty familiar with the arguments that we've had back and forth. But I think I just thought, you know, let's just get something concrete. And so I put together this resolution. So I thought it would be helpful to have it all written down and not just be talking about it and writing it after this meeting. But I propose that we adopt the resolution, 2-page resolution that I have in this packet. And I understand that the SCC doesn't have the power to make these changes, but that's why it's a resolution. My goal is that we can say as an SCC that this is what we would like to see happen, and have this just be something formal that says, please work with us to make this happen. So I think with that, I'll just put this resolution as a motion, if that's the right way to do it. And I guess I would need a second and then we discuss.
I'll second. Ashley.
Wait, so this resolution is gonna go to the district and then what? And then they're gonna,
Well, this would be a resolution that we would say, Pam, this is how we feel. This is what we'd like to see have happen. Because we've talked about this but we've never actually had a vote. Like maybe the SCC as a board doesn't want to do a cell phone policy. Like we've never had something that we could formally decide as a group. And so I would want to send this to Pam and say, this is us saying, this is what we would like to see happen. But then also, if it's something that we choose to adopt, I think it would help to take to the district to say, this is how we feel at East. And it's a communication piece. It kind of just is a statement is what it is.
Because I think we could send to the district on behalf of the SCC at East.
Yeah.
So what did you guys all think of the governor's letter? I mean, because obviously that's like a huge, that's big. And I heard that he felt strongly about it and thought about doing something, but to see that letter come in barely, I was really.
I loved it. Well, yeah, so what did you feel, how did you feel about getting the governor's letter?
No, I thought it was good.
Did you?
But I'm just gonna warn you guys that you guys got the letter before staff or SIC had the letter. I mean, there was like, anyways, which is good, because I felt like it was exactly, I think it's exactly what we need to kind of hone in on what we need. I think we started with something that was so big, and I felt like the way the governor said, it was like, oh, well, that's pretty simple. Why didn't we,
Right.
You know what I mean?
Mhm.
But did you read that? You didn't mention it in your talking about your resolution, so I just wondered if.
Oh, no, it's in the,
It was in the links.
Emails.
Yeah.
Okay.
yeah.
Just didn't know.
It's
No one
making
said
a difference in schools, including Clayton, and they could have been in that letter. As
Yeah.
an
Yeah.
example.
What is
Mhm.
it?
Yeah, and I'd say, I mean, the governor's letter came out just a couple days ago, but like we've been trying to make this happen for
Over
over a year. And it is simple. Like, I think we could get super strict with like, you put your phone in a locker when you walk in the door and then you don't get it back till you leave school. I wouldn't be opposed to that personally, but I think what this resolution is asking is very reasonable and leaves a lot of the concerns that parents have with a really strict policy, and is probably more age appropriate for a high school where you can have a little bit more flexibility, but just no phones in class. It's basically,
That's it.
that's it. Yeah.
How do we get the SIC on board? Like, how do we get teachers and faculty on
I
board?
think you're better off to go to the district.
And then it's
I don't
just
think
sort of
SIC
like
is
an
gonna be
ultimatum
against
to
it
teachers,
necessarily,
not an
but
ultimatum, but it's
If
basically a
they
policy.
change their policy, to have a school policy that doesn't align with your district policy is hard.
Yeah.
And so they've got, the middle school's already on board and a high school that's willing, and who knows about the other couple, but I think you'd be better off to get the district to change their policy. Just from it will be supported and no matter where a kid goes in the community. it's
I
the
don't
same
really
thing.
know why the SIC,
We can't
Has
make
stalled.
policy in the SIC. It's like law.
I think that's what
The
we need to
school,
have
the school
explained.
board, yeah, the school board makes policy. We have procedures. And I've been taught that very strongly this year when I called something that we were doing a policy.
Oh,
It's not a policy. So the school board having policy changes makes it very easy comparatively to implement things in the school. But I also think having the governor on board with something makes
Mhm.
it a lot easier to implement something in the school. But like I said, the SIC has not hardly seen this, and we haven't, our meetings got mixed this year so that we meet after we meet here, SIC.
So who does this ultimately come down to? Who decides if
the procedure.
whatever you call
procedure.
If you're going
Who's
to change
making
the
the decision?
policy, which is what this is, it's your district.
Okay,
then
but
who-
procedure at East High
But then
School.
who changed it on a
Right.
middle school level?
Who did it
Does
at
that make
Clayton?
sense? Help us
The
understand.
SCC did it, at Clayton.
Yeah, I
Was it?
think,
It was the SCC. They
Yeah,
voted it.
that's
and
what we
the-
need to
and the-
understand.
But then who implemented? So the SCC votes, but who is the
The school
person,
has to.
people that are on boots on the ground saying, take your, like there's gonna be an
principal.
implementation.
Principal.
Does that come down
So-
to you, Pam?
yeah, it comes.
So what direction do you need, or what authorization do you need, or what do you feel like you would need in order for you to implement it?
I personally think the governor's push is gonna make a big difference here.
Because
But
I think,
don't
so
know.
we have
Sorry, Pam, would
the,
this resolution help you do that, create that procedure?
Yes, I haven't read it all yet, but I'm gonna say I think it will help.
it sounds like we would need to at least make edits to, rather than say cell phone policy, we could call it cell
Right, it
phone
can't be called,
procedures.
right.
But what I think in answer to your questions about the policy versus when I look at what Clayton did, the policy is there. The policy says no phones in classrooms. The problem is that it also says that it's up to the teacher, and that the teacher doesn't have to implement the policy. And so that's the problem. But I think it's where we have the leeway on a school level to decide our procedures as a school is that we are agreeing that teachers are not going to use cell phones in the classroom. And then you use the policy that's already there. But as a school, you decide we are all on the same page, and all teachers, we are all agreeing that we're not going to be using cell phones. And I think we have the power, if the SIC and Pam is willing to do that, the policy is there to back that up. If the SIC is, they've seemed resistant to that, and it's not new. I mean, the SIC has known what we've been wanting for over a year. This isn't brand new, but if they're resistant to that, then we would have to change the policy to take that flexibility away, which I don't think is necessary, but it feels like it is unless something changes in terms of procedures here.
Before Elena left, she did say that she had read through this. She said that her question on behalf of the SAC is how then do they implement it? She said, I don't want students with cell phones in my class, but they'll still have cell phones in my class. So then what do the teachers do? Like, what is their recourse? I think that's what she and probably SAC members are wondering.
Can I just tell you what Clayton does?
Yeah,
Again, it's a middle
absolutely.
school, but what they do is cell phones cannot be visible.
Mhm.
So they know that the students have cell phones, but they have to remain in their backpack for the entire day.
Mhm.
They simply can't pull them out. So there's no, is it on, is it off? Are you playing a game? Are you researching something?
Mhm.
They're just not visible.
Yeah.
And if the student has an emergency, they need to go to the office, or the parent has to call the office. if there's an emergency.
Can they use it between classes?
No.
No,
Oh,
but
they
in
can't.
high school,
Not at Clayton, they can.
At Clayton.
Ashley, but you are, I mean, you are at a school that has a policy or a procedure in place.
Yes. I have several thoughts. The first is the implementation is absolutely in the classroom. And, Pam can say all she wants. She can, I think offering really compelling evidence as to why they should be removed is really important, so that, not all teachers really understand, and there are differing ideas about this. Some people feel like technology, personal devices are here to stay, and instead we should be talking about appropriate use, et cetera, et cetera. So they're really, for me, I work as an instructional coach, and so I'm in classrooms all day long in high school. And there is just no question for me but that they should be removed until we can figure out better ways to control addictive behaviors, like all of us, right? They should be removed. So I have no question about that, but teachers need to be convinced. And you're right, it is not so simple as I think most all teachers want them gone, but high schoolers are really crafty with their cell phones. And then it's a battle between teacher and student and what's gonna happen. What's gonna happen in that moment. And Pam, you and your other admins are super busy. And so logistically, how responsive can you be? And so what I'm thinking about as I read this is the portion that talks about, on the last page, the consequences for violations. I think that there needs to be a lot more clarity there. I worry about like equity. I mean, it's really easy to make a different call for a kid who has been in trouble a bunch versus like a kid who is a good student with their cell phone. I just think it needs to be really clear what happens when a kid has a cell phone out, and not too punitive, because it will happen a lot.
And I think schools that have really implemented procedures or whatnot, they tend to be a lot more detailed than what's just in the policy. Because I think the policy is to provide a general framework, but then, so that's why I said we need to create our own that's in line. But basically I was trying to point out that there needs to be some sort of consequence. Otherwise there is no.
And I think this is a piece that teachers and administrators need to think through and come up with consequences that make sense for this staff at this school and that everybody can abide by. And, I don't know, it seems like there's a really good procedure for that here in place with the SIC. How you get buy-in from people and,
I would love to, I tried to get this going in an email with Lynette and Pam, you were probably on the email, and maybe Elena, but we should, I think, do a meeting with some of these other high schools. I've called them myself, but it'd be helpful for admin and SIC to talk to these schools and say, how have you done it? How has it worked? Because they're doing it. And when I've talked to them, they're like, yeah, it's hard at first, and then it gets better. And we would never go back. Like the battle was worth it, and we're seeing the benefits of it.
Why
So
aren't we like implementing this like right now?
because
Teacher discretion.
the more teachers who are fully
The
behind
buy-in,
this.
I think the buy-in, and
It's
maybe
just the way.
help us understand that, because I am really, again, intrigued to know with the SIC, because I think the buck stops there. Well, it ultimately stops with you. But I am just intrigued a little bit, and you are so helpful. You're at a different high school, but you're interested in what exactly they're saying. Why are you feeling that you don't want to do this? Why don't you just explain one more time what the feedback is, so we can better understand? Because the question is it really stops with you? I mean, is that fair to say? I mean,
Like
when it
Christmas for some of these uniforms, perhaps.
I think I'm wrong.
Is someone trying to talk?
I think they just aren't muted,
What do you love? I am like, if I have to say that, hey, you're muted.
but they're muted
Oh, it
now.
Makes me crazy.
We scared them.
I think that the issues that have come to SIC are regarding the freedom to teach in your classroom. And that is as simple as I can say it. So I have some really excellent teachers who actually came to SIC to give some examples of a couple of times, and it's not every single day or anything, but a couple of times when they said, I have an educational need for a student to have their cell phone for a little while in the class. And I think that's why the board policy, the real policy says that it's up to teacher discretion, because in our district, teacher discretion is kind of the rule. It's not an exception. Some districts, top down, no written agreement, no kind of different groups working together. They don't have that freedom to teach out of their curriculum or whatever. So that is the fulcrum, is when do you have freedom in the class and when do you don't? And I love how the governor put it, and I obviously have been very supportive of the work that we've done. But our district is a little different. But I really do think that the governor's thing might really help, because most teachers want kids to have their phones put away. Even if they say once a week, we're gonna do whatever activity or we're gonna do whatever. They want kids' phones put away, but it is a terrible, terrible fight if kids haven't had to do that. So.
So-
There's a
sorry.
lot,
Can I
there's a
say
lot
something?
going there.
Can I say something? I've got a daughter that's a senior here and it's got a 4.0, has done well. I brought this issue up to her and she was adamant about the positives of being able to utilize a phone in the classroom. She said a lot of her advanced teachers, whether it's AP, whether it's honors, what have you, have the students utilize their phone, not always, but in many circumstances, in research, in other things, that it's so convenient to use that. She was adamant about saying cell phones should not be banned in the classroom. Teachers right now have the ability to control, and in her perspective, they were doing a very good job of that, of controlling use for most students in most classrooms.
And she has very good self-discipline, because I also have a senior who is an excellent student. But full disclosure, he told me he can sneak into the back of the classroom and just get on his phone. And it's not related to his classwork.
So I will
So
say,
I worry about that.
So it's, and that's the challenge is you have a technology tool that could be used for good or not, for distraction or not. That is the challenge. The other side of the equation, I think that nobody wants to bring into the equation is that how do you confiscate $1,000 electronic piece and have that liability for the school? Because once you do that, I assure you, you're going to have legal ramifications against the school. And that is the other side of the equation that we have not, and nobody's talking about, but I want to put on the table.
Well, that is
that
addressed in the policy.
That's a liability that I don't think that the district or the school wants to
so
maintain.
can I just say one thing? When this goes to this before the school board at the end of this month, it is going before the school board as an equity issue. It's not that not every student can afford a $1,000 phone to have at school. And are they at a disadvantage when they're in the classroom and the teachers say, pull out your cell phone, or a kid whose parents say you don't get the internet on your phone, or a kid who has restrictions in place? Is that fair? It's not fair. I mean, then that becomes an equity issue. And I think that is the main key when this goes before the school board, that when our district talks about every student, you know, excellence, equity, and whatever the other thing is, it's not equitable.
I feel like just to speak to the teacher question. When I looked at the governor's letter, my thought was, this puts all of the weight on the school and the teachers, right? This is him passing the buck. Yes, we have to do something about cell phones, absolutely. And he is saying, I don't want to deal with this. You guys deal with it. That was my take from the letter. And as a former school teacher, cell phones weren't around when I was teaching school. But I can say from a number of other issues, I hate cell phones. I think that they are absolutely self-destructing our kids with the social media. It's ridiculous. They're all addicted. We have all the studies. We know it's super bad for kids. And that's why the governor is forced to take a stance on it. I think that we cannot expect teachers to enforce. This is so bigger than teachers' classroom management. Whatever you guys decide to do, I am against cell phones in most schools. I know that they're an amazing resource, but I think the cost is too much for our kids. We have to do something. We cannot make the teachers deal with this, because if I was I taught government and civics, most of my time, I had maybe 20% of my time was dealing with my lesson plans. The rest of the time I spent in the classroom was dealing with trying to manage kids. You put cell phones on top of 100 other things that teachers are trying to do, and it's just gonna be mayhem.
Well,
So I speak to
who
the
would you put that on? Because it's the teacher that's in the classroom.
Right, I leave it up to, as it is. It is teachers' discretion. We have teachers that are using the cell phones. You know, they have kids text on a smartboard, and it's awesome. You know, they play a little game and they're engaged and they're using that appropriately. You have other teachers that say, absolutely not. If I see a cell phone, I'm going to send you to the office And we need to pay them to say, I absolutely support this teacher and I'm gonna do whatever we decide we're gonna do. Because it was against the rule in that teacher's class. You let the teacher decide.
I think the way they do it at Clayton, again, just to, is the teacher confiscates the phone if it's being used improperly. And the kid can collect it at the end of the day. And then if it happens again, the phone goes to the office and the kid can collect it from the office at the end of the day. And if it happens a third time to the same kid, the parent has to come to the office and collect the phone. I think that's how they've been doing it. And I don't remember who else said it, but yeah, I think it was you, Kristen, but the feedback from my kids at Clayton was that it was really difficult at first, but then everybody just follows the rule now because nobody wants to have their.
I mean,
phone
if
calls.
it couldn't be done, you wouldn't see it being done. I mean, the teachers at Cottonwood High figured it out. Cypress
Olympus.
High figured it
I
out.
can tell you what's really important is that you have 90% of teachers on board, and the expectation is phones are put away. We actually collect them at the school where I am. But if, you know, it's this thing, if half the teachers are doing it, the kids are constantly attuned to like, what class am I in? Can I have it out? And I mean, they're doing that here too. In talking to my daughter, the same thing's going on here, but it's like, if that is just the expectation, there will always be some teachers who, for whatever reason, whether it's, you know, a willful sort of like rejection of the procedure, or that it's just like, whatever happens, there will be a small group of teachers who aren't following it. But by and large, it'll be a huge improvement across the board if you can get most teachers on board.
And it seems to me that if there is a school-wide policy, that teachers who are nervous about enforcing would feel more supported and feel more empowered,
Exactly.
because it's not all on them. It's not their classroom.
It's not
It's
their
like,
procedure.
it's not me, I'm gonna blame it on Pam or the SCC or whatever, right?
I think you're right. I was just gonna say that. Having someone else be the rule maker and enforcer, so the teacher can still have the relationship with the kids. If there was any worry, that will help.
Can I ask you a question about other electronic
Right.
devices like phone, like watches or laptops? Are they able to bring any
They're
laptop
supposed to have their laptops.
They're
Their
supposed
school.
to have their laptop.
from home? Can they bring a laptop from home and use their own? Okay,
Or
so
a school one.
so there can be inequity with regard to that. There can be inequity with regard to electronic watches. There could be inequity with regard to other tools, if you will. So I think inequity is going to be there always. Yeah, it's the controlling of the devices.
Computers, all right?
What's that?
Doesn't the school have enough computers to
Yeah, we
cover
do.
anybody?
Everyone
They
So
should be able to
everyone-
have one.
So your earlier point about access to
Yeah.
research and things like that. If you got rid of all the cell phones between some kids bringing their own computers and then the school computers, isn't that gonna cover everybody?
That was the hope this year, that with computers in every kid's hand that needs one, the teachers wouldn't need to say, pull your phones out to learn how to graph equations, although that's a cool thing. That's what you said. But yeah, that was supposed to make a big difference, and I think it has.
It's funny, I heard my daughter who's at Clayton say it was just in passing in the last day or so, and I should have dialed in with her, but I wasn't directly talking with her, but she was saying the kids at Clayton can still go on their laptop and they can access the apps and the programs that they want. They can do the things on their laptop that they do on their phone. And they said, wasn't there protections or protocols against that? Like, no, the kids know how to get around it. So,
And the protections are on the kids that are bringing.
Right.
I mean, you can eventually get rid of personal computers too and have school computers for everyone, but.
But do you think that's the same thing? It's like, you're always gonna have 10%. You're always gonna have that. I'm asking the question. You're always gonna have that.
I think it's probably harder on a laptop.
To
Right.
kind of
Be
manipulate.
visible.
Yeah.
Like Genshin in the middle of math, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's probably gonna be kids that do it, but I think it's gonna be harder.
With the exceptions, it seems to be missing students with disabilities and English learners. Is that not currently in the policy? You can check, okay.
And I guess my question back to you is how hard is it going to be to get SCC on board? I think that's just my original question. I think the buck stops with you, and I'm just interested in like the feedback. It feels like you're getting a lot of fights. I don't know. I'm not sitting in an SIC meeting. So I think you just need to clarify with us.
I think it will be less hard now, but I mean, we have a lot of stuff on our plates, you know, it's always the hard thing, but I personally, when I saw the letter, from good or bad, I was like, man, I'm going in to teachers and to SIC and whoever and say, hey, here we go.
And how hard are you willing to fight? I think at some point, that's like what we're trying to decide here, you know, because you've got a lot of people that feel strongly, you've got some people who don't. I just am interested in engaging.
Like, I'm super, I thought, and what I gathered from the governor is that he's trying to get parents on board. Like, I don't think anybody would have expected that it was the teachers that were the stand up. That's how I feel here at East. And that's frustrating to me because I just feel like it's worth a battle just so maybe you don't get to do a Kahoot in class anymore, but like, that's just not worth it to me. Like, there's still so much flexibility. You should be able to do everything you want with the school laptops, and whatever little extra convenience a phone might have just isn't worth the benefits of a cell phone policy.
Well, and Kristen, most of the teachers still do want to get rid of cell phones. You know,
And
when you do
teachers
the
do
survey,
a
the
lot
teachers
in
don't want
their own classroom.
the
They
majority.
do.
But there must be people that are talking really loudly.
What percent,
I'm
do you
just
have a
asking.
sense,
I'm
Pam,
just
what
interested,
percentage? Yeah, what percentage of teachers do you think? And I understand like it's kind of a freedom issue, right? Like we just want to be able to do what we want to do in our classroom.
Do what we want.
Right,
Just
right.
like all of
Yeah.
us. All
Right.
of us
They
have
don't
a
wanna
little
be
bit of that, you know? Man, I know it's more than 10%, but I bet it's not even 30%. I bet it's
It's
smaller
salami
than maybe
slices.
you would think.
You know, you very rarely get the whole goal in one go, but if you got the governor coming down, that's one
exactly.
slice.
Exactly.
If you get the
I
parent
think that's a
committee
big
saying,
deal.
we want to do this, that's another slice.
I think
It
it's
gets
huge.
harder to stand against it.
And I do agree with Kristen, at some point, you're like, we need to have parents need to have some sort of a voice. I mean, like you said, it gets discouraging if you feel like, at what point?
But you know, I gotta just say, and I think we need to move on, but I have parents saying to me, my student is so far away from home and I am constantly in contact with them because I'm worried about their safety.
Parents will have a hard time.
Parents
giving this
call and text and call and text and text and text and text their
Yeah.
kids all day.
Isn't that a disaster?
It's a disaster, but I'm
Yeah.
just saying,
Emergency, like you
I'm
can
just
have
saying,
your phone.
I think
I mean,
I
the phones are gonna be on their, I mean, in their
Yeah.
backpacks. It's not that they can check them every 90 minutes,
Oh, I
you know, like,
I'm
Yeah.
just
Come on,
saying-
parents.
I'm just saying that's, I have heard very clearly from some of
I'm
us that
sure.
aren't at the table.
I'm sure.
Obviously, but they're like, to me, it's a safety thing, and if something were to happen, my kid's gotta get a hold of me instantly, and I'm not
And they
saying they wouldn't
could,
change their
in that
mind.
situation.
Right, and
because
they're
I
learning
think
to
they
learn
could
things
change their
out,
mind.
like the teacher could say, kids,
Yeah.
keep your cell phone out, touch your parents,
Yeah.
everything's fine, like that's a, you know.
Because not that many kids use lockers, let's be honest. I mean, we talk
No,
about
they
Clayton in
don't.
their locker. I'm like, what child here is,
Like
are they
10.
using for lockers?
10 kids.
I know, so I'm thinking it's on there
Oh, yeah.
something, person, it's close.
Or in the backpack.
In the
Yeah,
backpack,
that's
I
what- that's
think.
what I- Yeah, it's
And if
somewhere by
the
their
parents
locker.
know, they can use it in between classes and at lunch,
Yeah.
maybe that'll help.
Yeah, send the schedule to them. Here's when you can
Them
text.
feel better about
See,
it.
I think this is great
Right.
because we need to keep it pushing. I mean, again, this is what we're doing. You refine it, you take out things, you add things. I think this is so great.
So
I'm
what do we-
excited for the governor's letter. I was literally jumped out of my seat going,
It's like he knew he had.
So what would we,
Yeah, what do we
What do
do
we
with
need to
this?
do?
what would we want to do? I mean, yes, this has district language in it, which
Yeah.
we don't have control over, but I still think that that's kind of the problem, is that it needs to just be, this is the policy. We're not making all these exceptions that can open up the door, but I'm open to amendments.
well, and lawmakers make resolutions all the time, and they're not binding and they're not law, but they definitely have. It
Clout.
says something.
You
It
mentioned
says something.
that this is going to the school board at the end of the month.
Well, they can use
No,
it.
SIC.
No,
no.
no, we brought this issue up with the school board and Brian Jensen has it on the agenda. I'm sure they'll just be talking about the policy. But I did include the school board in the email, just that like, and I'll be going and hopefully getting a public comment spot to say, this is my concern and what do we need to do to make this like a real policy that is.
Well, as you do it, it is inequitable if you cannot have students who need devices to use them, like a student with disability or.
Oh, adding that in the exceptions
Yeah, it's
part.
not-
I mean, I think that the whole policy probably needs a committee on the board, district level
Right.
and to consider
Of
some
the
of those
approval.
things, yeah.
I think the policy needs to be revisited now that we have so much data around the impact of cell phones on kids. But it's missing some stuff. So I would propose an amendment to your proposal is like, you can submit this policy resolution and the SIC can consider it for procedural needs. But I think it really is a district. It needs some refinement just as a policy. And then if they're remove that permission, when is the teacher rights? It's when the kid has an accommodation or modification that's already documented. That's when it would be appropriate for a teacher to modify that experience. But right now that isn't covered, and it would put some kids at disadvantage if those tools weren't available. I'm interested that it was never addressed in the original policy. So that would be my amendment. It's just that we would, if the council agrees that we want to put this forward, it goes to SIC, but we also make a formal communication to the board to say, hey, we've had this discussion, we understand the pros and cons, but the pros outweigh the cons associated. And implementation is where it really will matter, but if the policy is stronger, teachers will feel more backed up, right? And those of you that want that freedom, they're gonna fight the system a little, like you mentioned, but I think in general, you'll get the vast majority, most teachers are pretty policy abiding citizens. If it's policy, they will abide by it. So that would be my slight amendment to the proposal.
So maybe we can adjust and improve the actual board policy in several ways. So that would be really nice to offer up some of that language that Jennifer's talking about.
So do you know what that language would look like right now? Like, I don't know how to take what you just said and put it
So you
here.
have to include like, if you look at the 504 plans or IP or whatever and say that obviously those plans will supersede anything. Right, you know, they would want to take priority.
Yeah, I think it
So
could
if
be
a
very
kid has an
similar.
anxiety disorder and they need their cell phone, obviously.
Yeah, I mean, you could probably say like now under parent request, that would be
Well, and I
possible,
think
but
it could be, but you have an English learner parent who does not know how to make that request, right? And sorry, I used to
Yeah.
work in that field quite a bit, but all you take is number one, medical reasons and changes to school administrators may make exceptions to these procedures for students with documented modifications or accommodations, but as the devices do not distract from blah, 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 like it use that same language, but just apply it to
A broader
another group.
broader
So you
group.
could leave the medical, obviously like a kid that's diabetic and needs to check their insulin should have access to their phone. But for the students who need a translation device to be able to even understand what's happening in class, or a kid who's dyslexic and needs to have the notes auditorily recorded, those kinds of things, like it just, this policy leaves those kinds of things out. And I think it's a really easy modification that they have a documented need. Or the parent requests, a parent of a dyslexic student may not be qualified, but the parent will.
do you want to, like, you don't have a computer, but like, do we want
I
to?
can email you the language if you guys are okay. It's basically gonna be what one is, but it will say exceptions to these procedures for documented accommodations or modifications. As long as the devices don't distract. So it'd be very similar. Feel free to amend that language.
How about
too.
we had some discussion, email wise, and try to come up with something that we can then vote on next time to finalize.
Or if you want to type something up and we could revisit it at the end of this meeting.
I don't think everybody's read what's here to begin with.
I was gonna say, I don't know that this group needs to all.
Line item.
Verbiage.
I agree with
What I think the purpose of this, and correct me if I'm wrong,
Mhm.
is to show support to a stronger cell phone policy. More specific cell phone policy.
Yeah, because I think we probably have dozens of other things.
And you can do that
Yeah.
in abbreviated language.
But I think, seems to me that we can show support to a cell phone policy right now. You know,
Mhm.
this being a starting point plus refinement. And then, Pam, I'd love to hear, so I would, you know, in a second, the proposed, we approve it as you suggested. Pam, I'd love to hear, and apologize, I am super slow on this, and I don't catch all of the discussions, but what's going to, what's the next step to get the teachers, or whatever the bottleneck, whatever the roadblock is, to get the water to the end of the irrigation row here? What is in the way? Do you need, is it more formal policy? Is it you buy in from the teachers? Like, help me understand that, because I've heard a lot.
I think having the board policy kind of vague hurts us from the SIC talking to staff. If the board policy is more clear, like Jen said, we tend to follow the rules. And educators are not the kid that was like the law breaking kid in school. We're usually the ones who are sitting in the front going, yeah, I know the answer. You know what I mean? So the board policy should be stronger. And I'm really glad Brian got it on the agenda. That is amazing with everything else, without everything else going on. But I think I really do think the governor's letter, along with a more clear statement from us, is going to make a big difference. I think it'll be easier for me to make the case.
Okay, so you feel like you are gonna make a case.
Well, I have to.
Are you?
With SIC and then with the staff.
Okay, so the SIC is, I'm sorry, again, I'm
okay.
really slow. The SIC is giving recommendations to you, and then you're taking those to the teachers.
The SIC is a group, and I'm part of that. We make recommendations that go to the staff.
Yeah.
Many of those recommendations, the SIC just votes on as a group. And we take things out to the staff and say, we voted on this. Things that are a little more controversial or really, really impactful on the whole staff. Generally, we vote that we're going to take it to the staff, and then the staff has discussion and votes on it. They have to ratify it as a whole staff. And there's a 65% or 70% threshold. We vote on a percent every year, and that's the percentage we use for things. But honestly, I think with some of this, with the governor's letter and all of those things, if we actually print some of the best, easy to like quickly digest articles or whatever and send them out to everyone, that might help everyone to just kind of weigh it a little more. It's not that someone's not going to say, I have kids doing equations on the computer and I want to, or on the phone. But I think it'll go across much better.
So if I'm hearing you right, so you have district policy is one avenue, and that would, we can, that's in the works. There's the SIC plus a student or plus a teacher vote.
Yeah, something this big would definitely have a teacher vote.
And then there's what I'm hearing kind of between the lines is, hey, I can kind of lean on them. I'm going to send them some materials and just see if I can get soft buy-in.
Soft buy-in is good.
Is that what I'm hearing?
Yeah, that's about what you're hearing.
Okay.
Because
I just think the conversation's been different.
You can't go in and just say, this is what we're doing.
No,
I guess that's the question.
We're
You
not
just
in
need to
Granite
outline.
District.
Well,
We're
I
not
guess
in
that's-
Alpine
But I
District.
think that's fair to ask, because I don't
No, it
think we
is.
understand how different works.
District either.
It doesn't.
So how did it?
I mean, if I
I'd
can
play
like,
Uno.
just from the teacher perspective, weigh
They're
in
a
a little
tiny
bit
school.
here. It seems so easy. It really does. Like, tell the kids they've got to put their cell phone away and there will be consequences if they don't. But I'm looking around the room and we are all, it's a lot to ask, actually. It is more than we think in this room talking about it. It's really hard for kids to put their phone away and not think about it or not look at it. And so what that means for the teacher in the classroom is that their already sometimes impossible job just got a lot more contentious and a lot harder. And they're dealing now with this thing that, again, seems simple, but it's really not. The implementation's really, really hard. And
that's where the kickback is. I mean, let's be honest.
It's not that they don't, I think probably every teacher in this building would love for the cell phone thing to just go away. And they would love their students' full attention, or even partial attention, and not just the obvious, like, this is way more interesting than you. And it will be every single time, no matter how interesting
and dynamic that teacher in the classroom is, this is more interesting. So that's why, you know, we need to keep working at this, but it's not simple.
So what's your suggestion then? Is it gonna be better to come from the top down? Is that what I should be taking away from your comment that?
Right,
come from-
I don't think Pam can just say, teachers, you've got to do this, and then, you know, or else what, you know? I mean, Pam, you might be able to answer that better, but.
No, but
That's
it's
the thing,
true, yeah.
when people throw around the word consequences for anyone, our world is against consequences right now. You all know this. We barely can consequence our own kids when they're late, when they misuse their phone, when they're, I don't know, I always got in trouble for too many long distance minutes, which isn't a thing anymore. It's consequences are something I really struggle with when I think about when people say, well, why didn't you, that kid needs to be held accountable. What does that mean exactly? Like, I'm gonna have a conversation with someone and say, hey, you know, student, adult, you kind of broke this rule. We need to talk about it. What do you think? Can you know, do you understand? It is this whole conversation. For some people, that's a consequence. For other people, they kind of blow it off. I just think we're getting into the weeds, and I think we should change some of the wording on this and let me take it to SIC
Start
next
somewhere.
week.
Yeah.
And let me send, I mean, the governor's letter, I'm serious, I keep going back to that. I'm like, I think this could really tip the balance to even to fix the board policy,
Yeah.
you know? Because we already have a policy. That's
I'm
one
gonna
of the other.
propose a motion, so I move that the SCC chair communicate. Slow.
I'll give you my call when I'm done.
So I move that the SCC chair communicate a request for the Salt Lake City School Board to revise their policy to be stronger in minimizing the use of cell phones in Salt Lake City School District schools for the 2024-2025 school year. And that would just mean you would send the communication with the resolution. That we discussed this, we voted, we are encouraging you to act differently. And then the second part of the motion, I move that the SIC reviews the resolution to consider taking procedural action and next steps. So not that they have to do anything, but like, what would please consider kind of thing. So those would be the motions that needs to be seconded or not.
Can you just repeat the motion?
I'm gonna bring it.
Yeah, you're gonna vote on this first motion of approving this?
It wasn't
Yeah.
seconded
No,
yet.
I amended her motion.
Oh, got it, okay.
So then,
So what you're saying essentially is an abbreviated motion.
Yeah, it's just being more explicit about the district part. I think we were relying mostly.
Rather
on
than the
this,
details
Yeah.
of this.
yeah, so probably cut the first point. Because we don't want to get into the weeds of exactly what to change in the board policy.
like, you need to, I think.
Yeah.
you can come with this when they're ready, but just saying.
Yeah, get rid of the whole first point, but then on a school level, we want to still encourage our own school and SIC to.
So that's the second motion.
Mhm.
Sorry, can you read your motion again?
Yes.
I didn't understand it's gonna replace this. Okay.
So Jen,
I move that the
Yeah.
SCC chair communicate a request from the Salt Lake City School Board to revise their policy to be stronger in minimizing the use of cell phones in Salt Lake City School District for the 2024-2025 school year. I move that the SIC review the resolution to consider taking procedural action and next steps.
and maybe I'll explain this and then we can make an official motion. So I think for the resolution, we would just scratch the first page that goes into the details of the board policy and just start. Point number 2 would become point number 1, and instead we would say, we propose that East High School adopt school-wide procedures spanning and then, I mean, continue with the rest as is. Basically have that in place for the school year and communicate it before fall.
And that's what goes to SIC
Yeah.
and the district.
Mhm.
Yeah. You could do both.
I support it.
So should be the motion, somebody needs a second.
So
So are we seconding your motion? or
mine
mine?
hasn't been seconded, so you could make another motion.
I second your first motion.
Wait, and I can consider your amendment to my motion a friendly amendment. And then we don't have to make another.
What would we do?
Sorry, what would we do?
Oh, friendly amendment.
Okay, so
Modify the resolution to be 2 for 4. It sounds like.
Quick little question. So this would mean that we're just trying to implement it procedurally on the high school level, East High School level, not change district.
Both.
It
we're
would
gonna
do
send it
both.
to
This is just
two.
modifying the second part of the motion. So we would still communicate to the
Okay.
district, hey,
Oh,
we're going
okay.
to change this. But in the meantime, the school can do some things, as Clinton has
Okay.
shown,
Okay,
can do
that's clear.
local. So it'd be trying to.
But then we share our resolution of what we want to do here with the district saying,
This is
we,
what,
yeah, this is what we want to do. And what you can do to further make this work
Support
better is to,
Strengthen
improve this.
the policy.
And
So-
would it be helpful to you in your efforts to just do the soft work with the teachers if we have some resolution supporting you officially in your efforts to limit cell phones in the school? Or is that, or
Yeah,
that be, or should we
probably
just do
not,
that for
but-
the SAC? Okay.
I think that, yeah.
So we have motion has been seconded, so now we just need to vote, right?
Sorry, I'm just a little unclear. So we're taking Kristen's piece, which she's handed out to us, and we're modifying it. I'm sorry, I forget your name, but
Jennifer, no
Jennifer,
worries.
we're taking Jennifer's additional language and putting it into it. And. are
Well,
we-
your
I
language
think
doesn't
we've
go
got-
in here.
No.
We've got two
That would be
different,
like a letter.
This is good.
we've got two different
Documents.
Okay.
proposals that were
In her motion.
Okay.
motions that she had
So I
put
can
forth.
explain it a little more clearly.
Okay,
We're
she
gonna send
first-
an email to
First,
the district.
yeah, that was the first one that she'd offered, I seconded. Okay,
So we vote on that.
So that's Jennifer's email to the district.
so we can vote
on
on
behalf
that.
of the-
Aaron.
I think we're
Okay.
taking one issue at a time.
Okay, so we're voting on sending,
So you're trying to make you want to divide the motion.
Those two, you proposed two motions,
I did.
okay?
In
He's
one.
bifurcating.
We can divide them if that's helpful. So let's vote on the first motion, which might be helpful because we might have disagreement and then it doesn't kill both. So the first motion is, does the school committee council agree that we'll send an email with those 3 points asking for a stronger policy? That's the first motion.
Attaching what will be our second motion. Yeah.
okay, so that's the first motion, is sending the email.
That's what.
And it's
Okay,
been
should we vote on
seconded.
that?
So let's vote on that. All in favor of sending the email? Say aye.
I,
Anyone opposed? Right? Then the second motion.
It's gonna be the school that we're gonna send this same
Resolution.
resolution, modified
With
resolution.
the, with the
To the, whoever would be
SIC,
appropriate.
Elena.
Elena, at the SIC, for additional.
And it'll be the same as is, but we'll get rid of the whole first point. And then on point number 2, which will now be point number 1, I'll change policy to procedures.
Can we vote on that with not knowing the wording?
we know the
That's
word.
hard.
So you're saying it's just gonna start with as we work to upgrade,
And I'll get rid of that. So it just says
Yeah.
we propose.
we propose that East establish
Yeah.
a policy
Procedure.
procedure.
Yeah.
I trust the people writing this to get the accommodated students and
Yeah.
the change
Yes.
of words. I think that's.
Hey, let's vote on that. It's been seconded, right? So we can go ahead and vote?
Yeah.
Okay.
Also,
Sorry, if we get rid of point 1, where does it say this is even about cell phones? Oh, right, okay, so adopt a school-wide policy banning personal, okay, all right, yep.
And Richie starts. Okay, so it was seconded by Wade. Okay, so let's go ahead and vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed?
Because we don't have the wording, and that's why I
We do.
oppose.
It's right.
It's not as modified, okay?
Okay, well, he can vote now,
So,
but this is what it would look.
We just gonna know, and look over that, for sure. But okay, so that's done. This is at least so resolved. Thank you for your work. I think that's terrific. And it's like.
round of applause on that?
Yeah, I think that's
Thanks,
Great
Tom.
work. Thank you, Tom. Thank you, everyone. And I really want to do this, especially since Brian will be taking it to the board, which he did send an email saying that he was really excited about this discussion. He was sad that he couldn't be here today, but there's a board meeting at West right now. So anyway, I think that I feel great about sending this to him prior to. So okay, we're gonna move on quickly. The agenda, moving down. Really quick follow-up on the banners in Glendale. I did talk to the guy who does the banners. He actually has the file from the banners that are at Glendale. So
Good.
that also takes like $20 off of every banner.
Good.
So he said he will do it and can have them ready for us in 2 weeks.
Perfect.
And so he will do it and take it down, take down the new ones, put up,
Okay, that's huge.
take down
That
the
is
old,
huge.
put
That
up
is
the new.
huge. It's the getting up and down.
It's great.
Yeah,
And
that's
also
great.
he'll take down the golf banners. And I was wondering, since we kind of approved the cost
Right.
last time, and since there's a lesser cost, Em and I were just talking about just having east banners to be in the front of the school
Yes.
that match those when there's not a sporting team there, when it's homecoming, when it's graduation, when there are things like that. So the number that we need may vary, maybe, I mean, like, even if it was just 4 on the corners, I don't know, I need to look at that, but I was wondering if maybe we could use the extra funds to try to get a few more for the front of the school.
And remind me the PTA portion and Pam's portion.
Half.
I know, I can't remember the full number.
We don't
though.
have
I'm
an
sure I
amount.
have it.
I'm
And are they
So-
close-ish? How much are they each?
110.
And that includes putting up, putting down.
So the other thing is we need a bid from them and we maybe, if they don't have like a state contract, we have to get other bids, which is gonna be easy. That's cheap, I think. But, so there's a little bit of work to do. You need to talk to Kim, the treasurer.
And I can come up with 2 more bids if you can. Perfect. Because I failed you last month.
No, you're
But
right.
I have.
And Kelly, I've
2
been in touch
people.
with Kelly.
And she has one of my people.
Perfect.
So we
have
have
the
like
same person.
20, is it
Yeah.
20 banners then with the 4?
If we did with the four, we said 15, so if we could just make it
Maybe
20.
Yeah, let's make it
Yeah.
20. We just got a bid.
Yeah.
I will get a bid. Let's do
Yeah.
that.
Normal
Okay.
size.
And will you just text me the size one more time, just so I know exactly?
Yeah.
Like that.
So are you guys good with that?
Yes,
It's just a
I'm gonna bring
update.
it up to the board, Nick, but I'm
Thank you.
sure that everyone will be on board.
I'm
Just
really
playing
hoping-
catch up a little bit. We do these banners in Glendale just to promote the idea of
School
going to East
There
High.
are, there are.
There are banners here. there are banners there.
Yeah.
Right.
It's fun. They're gonna look really good.
Yeah.
It's gonna look nice.
I would
Is that
say
okay?
more.
Yeah.
than-
Okay,
Could be
all right,
more.
we'll
I
get
agree.
to the,
Good.
that will be my follow-up is.
Yeah, we just need bids.
Bids.
So, I'm gonna jump into we talked last month a little bit about volunteering to help with bathroom, safety, hallway safety. And I figured out, and this is a brand new person, I've never heard of them before, but this Mariella Miranda is the person she has spots every day for people to come in and get fingerprinted and do the couple of things you have to do to be an authorized volunteer. And I know a lot of people did this before, but it was a totally different thing, different people in charge of it. So it took a minute to find this. So there you go. If anyone asks, she's a district person with a foundation.
How long do the fingerprints last when you've done them?
Yeah.
They last until there's a reason for them not to last.
Oh, is
So
that
if
true?
You did it in elementary school, you're good.
So if you're approved, you're
You just
approved.
gotta
Okay.
check, yeah,
Okay.
check if you're approved. I would like
I've
us to
done
have a list of who is
Everyone
approved.
is approved,
Yeah.
at least.
Or have people sign up, and then we can check too.
Okay.
And if you say, oh, that was in kindergarten you did those, sorry, you gotta come back. I mean, there is some limit.
That's there, I don't believe that there is.
Yeah, but that's good.
But, okay, I will see if we can get a list of everyone.
I came on Thursday.
How
to
was it?
volunteer.
How was it?
Yeah, how's it going?
I got beat up. By my kids.
By your kids.
Absolutely no way. They were pissed off. Okay. So I'm just saying, if you tell your kids that you're gonna come out, now,
Yeah, don't tell
so.
them.
Oh, no, they'll never
showed
know.
up, And I couldn't find anybody, so I just went to this bathroom on that end. And it was interesting.
It's great, and it's very interesting.
How is it interesting? What happened?
Yes.
Well, the kids walk by and I say, look, only one person goes in. And they were not happy.
Well, you can have up to the number of stalls, so that wasn't correct.
Oh.
And I didn't
But
get
there's.
it.
If you come in, there's a person on each floor that has cameras and a little binder with a script of what you say to kids, depending on the situation. They come with like 18 friends, then you say one at a time. And by the way, you know.
But I'll tell you the benefit that I felt, which I think all you guys could feel, and that was, you know, a few of those kids, they walked away like, you know, you're kind of weird, but you know, that's kind of cool you showed up. You know, and you know, can you clean the bathroom as well? So, hey, I recommend that you guys show up.
Yeah.
And like, it's
pretty fun.
It's nasty.
Good. Boys' bathrooms are always disgusting.
I actually feel like I walked around and went with Pam to see all of the different bathrooms and all people standing in different bathrooms and waiting, and everybody seemed to be having, you know, was met with kindness. Nobody said that it was terrible or anything, and I saw so many people walking in the halls with hall passes. Like I think that they're being receptive, and
The kids, they felt like, they felt good about it.
I'm sure they would be safe.
And
Yes,
it was.
they can get in a stall
Even
and
the
use
tough
it.
guys, felt, hey, no, thanks for showing up, and it was really cool.
so we do need to help. I really, because otherwise it's the teachers on their off periods.
Which some teachers are doing, and that's a lot to
It
ask.
is a
Because I
lot
even
to
had
ask.
my Alyssa saying, I need help, but she's gotta be in the restroom. I mean, it's a
Yeah.
lot to ask
So
teachers.
if we can help, let's really, really try to help parents and tell your friends and everyone you know.
So,
Public service announcement.
so how do we, this is who we email to make sure we're qualified, but how do we sign up?
There's a, did we send that out to everyone?
Yeah, and
Sign
Aaron
up?
sent it out as
It's
well.
like
Oh,
QR
okay.
code.
Okay,
Yeah,
I
there's
can go
a
look for the
QR
email.
code, and there's also a sign up. So you just go on there, it has like all the dates, and you can just sign up for a date.
You
and a
could link
time.
it on the PTA. social
Yeah, we should
media,
do that. Let's have Aaron
and
provide
Newsletter.
on newsletter and Instagram.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
For all
then
the
it's like an
bases.
hour and a half at a time. And so
It goes fast too.
Could you send it to the SCC
I will,
email,
absolutely.
just
Yeah,
for
I send
easy,
it out
but
every time.
I did a selfie with one of the kids, and they really liked it. But yeah, it'll cause some like fun, you know,
It's gonna be so worth it in the end.
It is, it's already making a big difference. The assistant principals get the vape, like the alarm thing, like you have a vape detection and the third floor or the bathroom. He already commented how those have gone down so much.
That's
Which is
awesome.
one of the big things is didn't want to see people vaping in the bathroom. I don't want kids to be vaping in the bathroom, you know? So there's a lot of change already.
That's great.
Okay, because of time, and we already kind of talked about bathroom safety. So my report is basically, it's working, it's really hard, and we gotta get everyone on the same page. But I know it's working. Kids are happier. They can get in a stall. They can use the bathroom for what it's used for. That's amazing.
thanks for leading out on that.
So, and
Yeah.
that's huge. So it's hard, and this is why I'm over here like, oh my gosh, cell phones, bathrooms, safety plan, although that's part of it too.
But I think that shows us what could happen with the cell phone implementation. And I mean, you have some resistance at first, but
Mhm.
they're gonna start to adopt it and
Yep.
appreciate it.
Okay, I have a quick, and it's not done, and there are about 150 reasons why I didn't get this done, but I got a lot of it done. And I have a current, you guys are gonna love this, current financial inquiry about land trust. So, and some of you will know how to work on, like, how to look at this and some won't, but I'll hand it out to you in a minute, because you will like it. But I have to say, the land trust budget in my life is always the cleanest. And it spends the best because all of the people in this room and others make the plan so clear that there is no problem spending, which is amazing. So what I want to do is just show you remind you of a couple of the goals and kind of give you some clues of what we've been doing. And we'll probably have more of this, and like I said, if I would have finished this, there would have been a little more. There's only 8 slides, and then we'll talk about the budget. So goal 1, and this is really tiny, I apologize, that we would provide adequate tier 1 and tier 2 interventions and supports to help students and achieve a 90% graduation or higher rate by the end of the 23-24 school year. That was, and it's kind of this state level goal, and we usually have a goal like this around graduation. I've listed some of the action steps here, and there were a lot, so I've highlighted a couple of the main things. And then the progress part is kind of in that light, I don't know what color that is, I really like it. So AVID and higher level thinking, lower class sizes, support for MLL students with highly qualified teachers. Tier 2, like supervised studies, techniques for tough times, AVID elective classes, and the transition counselor is up here, and an intern is up here. Did we get an intern this year, Mark? Last year we had a great intern. This year, no one applied. It was some weird year, but we tried, and it's not very much money, so we'll figure it out. So the progress is, AVID is providing support, as we said. We have lower class sizes in 9th and 10th grade every year, like we said. And all students have rigorous classes in 9th and 10th grade, especially. Students have access to credit recovery, which is especially important after COVID. You guys, this year, seniors were the most highly impacted by COVID. And not that it hasn't been impactful, but it was pretty tough this year. They have techniques for tough times and AVID classes. These support both academics and offer emotional support. So it's nice to have both. The transition counselor is a vital part of our school, and we want that to continue in the funding more than almost anything else. The counselor has made a huge difference. And she has come and given data and information to you guys. She's here a lot of times and has really thoughtful things to say. Well, that's for every day, for all of us. So it's pretty amazing.
She come back next year.
You know, we were talking about that today because Glendale, in theory, we were gonna kind of switch it out so someone knew the families more, you know, the newer families or whatever. But Glendale had a shift in their principal and their team, and I'm not sure that they really have a counselor that would be ready to come here. So we might have to beg Cassie to stay. That's just a conversation that happened today. She's great. So and I told the counseling team that I was talking about this tonight, and that I was going to be very clear that that needs to stay, no matter what. Okay, math. Up here in the corner, so these are the things from the plan. The math scores for 9th and 10th graders have fluctuated a lot, and they're way too low in my opinion. And we wanted to increase the year-end math aspire scores by 5% for our TSI groups, which are Pacific Islanders, MLL students, and students with disabilities. Those are our 3 kind of targeted groups this year. Low scores are no good. That is the only thing almost on the state website. When you look up East High School or Cottonwood High School or whoever, there are scores. And then they do have some percentages of more soft things like students who are doing rigorous pathways, students who took AP or IB. So there's some good things where we really do well. It also shows some growth measures where we also tend to be very strong. But the actual proficient on the test, it's a tough one for us. So, and these are steps that we were going to take. So the math team is implementing a new curriculum and getting PD on that curriculum. Brand new, it's very different, which happens, and it throws teachers for quite a loop every time that happens. They are writing effective checkpoints, which are going to take a lot of data and incorporate it so they know how the students are doing kind of on a week-to-week or month-to-month basis. So students are going to do those math language checkpoints. So there's some writing and reading in with math. And they're going to have checks of student progress. And these are things, again, that when you're doing a new curriculum, it's kind of hard to get this done also, but I think they're working as much as they can. There was the idea that we needed to hire another math teacher to help provide additional support for AP and secondary math students like the higher level, which we did. Sean Michael, she is awesome. And he does the AP computer science, which really no one else in the department could do. And he's growing that program, and that's really important, especially because of the job opportunities that come from doing those type of classes in high school and college. And math teachers also had an opportunity to write their checkpoints and those evaluative things and to plan for other department things. So we were gonna offer them some money to work in the summer or whatever. So progress, again, in the little box with a good color. The new math curriculum is being implemented. District coaches are helping. There's some PD that all the math teachers get several times a year. And I think they're trying their very best to implement it. With teachers having even the ability to say, I'm not teaching that, but they really are doing what they can.
What is PD?
Professional development, sorry. I was running out of room. I started making.
No, it's good.
We did hire the additional math teacher, and I paid for at least one conference for the math teachers to attend, and the school pays for subs and the conference fees. And they have had some really good opportunities to do some learning with their department.
So when will we know if this has worked? Do we have to wait till math test at the end of the year
We'll know
to
next year in the
compare?
summer
Okay,
or in the beginning of the year.
so at that point we can compare and see.
Right, we can compare and see, but there are also a lot of ways that we're looking at smaller things along the way, just like the teachers are trying to measure students' progress along the way. We're also trying to do that, which is why we're talking about this. Yes, Annie?
So I'm confused. I thought that last year we had calculus AP, two separate classes. This year I understand.
You know what, it's almost time for master schedule again, which is good. And students right now are having the opportunity to sign up for the classes they want. And the master schedule is based on student request. So
Right,
and we're hoping.
But I'm just wondering, when you say hire an additional support for AP and secondary math students, and you said that there was a math teacher hired, I don't think they should.
Yeah, it could be a half, but Land Trust paid for a half. And we talked about that last year, but yeah, and he really was kept. It was one that was gonna be not let go, but I mean, we weren't sure we had room for him to teach. But the dedication to AP computer science was why he got hired back. I don't think he can take calculus. I don't think he can teach calculus, but I'll have to see.
Well, I don't care about the computer science. I'm just wondering, why are we talking about math and substituting it?
Well,
Because if you're talking about math improvements, I don't think we hired a math teacher. Are you sure that money went to pay for a math teacher? Because my experience was we hired a computer teacher. Not a math teacher.
I might have to check into that. You have a better memory than me in many ways, so I am not exactly sure. But the definite focus, and this can focus on foundational stuff or advanced stuff, and it's us who decide that. And I think we did a really good job of that last year. But state scores are only for 9th and 10th graders. That's what's on the website. But when you talk about students taking AP classes or whatever, that is also listed, but not as a score, but as a percentage of students for, doing something. Okay, so that's the small, and it's not a complete list, but that's what I got done. You guys, it was so hard today to do this. Language arts, and I think this might be the last goal I got through, and there are other things that I'm not reporting on, but this is what I can do, like I said. The English language arts, that's ELA. We always say ELA because English language arts is a lot of syllables. Same thing, student scores as being proficient are lower than we'd like. And again, this is like post-COVID still, that seems to keep giving us so many gifts of scores getting lower. And we're really hoping and planning that that's gonna go up this year. Also, the RI test that we used to do 3 times a year, you guys remember that? It's been bought by another company. It's now called Growth Measure. And the Growth Measure is actually a much better test in terms of giving data that teachers can use in the classroom right away. It's more accurate, there's more measures, and I know it's more information than you want, but we were worried to have a new test, but I think it's actually better. We're doing our second We have to do 3 a year. We're doing our second one on the 25th of this month. So some of the action steps were educating people about using that reading data that was in there as RI, but now it's growth measure. Continue to target 9th graders and TSI groups who need extra reading support. And I think we paid for half a reading teacher in our funds as well. Continue to use trust land funding to retain a highly qualified reading teacher. They are hard to find. We have 2 people in our whole building that are qualified to teach reading classes and a huge need for reading teachers. So just something to think about. We're using Avid strategies in all classrooms and creating a strong support for all levels of students to build higher level thinking, which we talked about earlier with Avid or whatever. So just very basic progress is we've been working on understanding and learning the new growth measure assessment with the data that's better. And we're targeting students for reading support in 9th grade and in MLL groups. But with only 2 teachers, and they don't teach reading full time. So we're doing what we can, but we may want to at some point find another reading teacher. That's definitely going to be on that could be my last slide. Let's see if it is. Yes, because here's our product marketing. Okay. Okay, so that's all. So let me also show you then and this is kind of a weird, it's always hard to read these, and I'll do my best. Please help. Thank you. What you have in front of you is, what you will have in front of you is the accounts for land trust, and there's a couple of things that are split out because it makes it easier if you put people in one, and this one has professional development in a little pot by itself. And on the back is one line. I don't know why it couldn't fit on the first page, but as you get those, there's a working budget on the left of the 4 columns and a balance on the very right column. So, and we're spending that money down really well. When I sit with the district money people, they're like, why aren't you spending this account more? I'm like, I don't even know how to spend that account. But land trust, they always say, hey, you look like you're right on track. So we're almost halfway through the year. And if you'll look, that top big section that's long is all teacher pay. And there's a balance. Some of them are minus, but don't worry, that's okay. And it's all the benefits and stuff. So that's really a lot that we don't control. We did control how many teachers were in there and some other money for paras and some non-instructional hours for teachers. That's all in there too. And there's some of this might be carried over from last year. Some of that's really high. But it all, in the end, that whole group is going to spend down really nicely. The second one that's really short at the bottom of the page is the counselor line, because a counselor is in a different budget line than a teacher, and I originally had it all together, and they called me and they're like, no, counselor. So they made a separate land trust line for that transition counselor. All the other teachers are all lumped in the top. And then there's a little bit of funds in here for those conferences and things that teachers go to, which is the third bold. The encumbered, like they encumber money if they know they need to spend it. You guys know what that means. You probably know better than me. And then as it actually spends, it's in that third column, and then the balance on the fourth. So the point is, we started with $315,856,000, and our balance about halfway through the year is $84,150. So we're doing good on this.
Pam, did we fund advocates?
I think we changed it. So I'm thinking that might be been a carryover for last year. We did, not this year. We decided to use the funds for something else. So all the teachers, the music teacher, the half of whoever is all in there is on the top. And I think this is something I'm supposed to do with you guys, is share funding stuff. So anyway, that it tells a lot and it doesn't tell a lot, but I wanted to share it with you today. Any
Can I
thoughts,
just
questions?
clarify a
Yeah,
couple of things?
and I'll
just
see if
'cause
I can answer for you.
I don't understand, what one of these before. So why do we call it school land trust? This is basically a budget for East High for this, for the city
It's
district,
a
right?
state budget that comes to us.
They just call it land
Yep,
trust. for
every
whatever
single
reason.
school is land trust.
Okay,
it's
and
the
that is
same-
the Salt Lake City School District's budget for East High School for the year.
This is the state land trust
state.
budget for
This
us
is different.
this year.
Different.
It's a
It's a
different
little-
pot
Like
of
an
money.
additional,
Okay,
what you,
coming from the state.
yeah.
It's a special
Coming-
pot of
well,
money
coming
that
from-
this body decides.
That we are over. That's
Oh,
one of
So
our
it's
roles.
not a
Federal
bigger.
Right.
Pam has other money, but then this is just,
But that's a very good question, because it is, the land trust, the whole system is a little confusing and, yeah. Anything else, just quickly? I mean, this is something we can watch as we're spending it down through the year and, but we're doing good.
And we're gonna talk more later about what we're gonna
What
do
we're gonna
next
do
year.
next
Yeah,
year.
that is
So-
not, this is a
And the
precursor.
schedule, the school schedule's finalized when, remind me, is it done? I mean, the master schedule.
No.
Okay, so I'm just
Those are-
wondering,
those
because
are
this
registering.
matters, yeah.
Yeah, it matters. Boy, I'll have to see.
We're doing,
The
we'll
middle
finish
schools
up
are-
at the 9th, 10th, 11th grade, we're doing middle school now, we won't be done with middle school until, well, you wanna know is, we're gonna do staffing probably in March. And so
At the
that's,
end of February.
yeah, we get the numbers to them in the middle of February, and then they go through the process of determining how many sections, and then they determine how many teachers we need for those sections. That usually comes out in March, because you have to do it 90 days before the end of the school.
But when they're looking at that master schedule, they're like, oh, choir's available, or oh, orchestra's available, or,
Well,
I
no,
mean,
after that,
That's
I
not done until.
understand, but I'm still, okay.
So the master schedule is just this number of sections, and then she starts running the master schedule, and that's usually done in April and May. And
But-
sometimes we get it done before.
when SIC meets with all the requests from the kids and they're all organized, we give our best guess on how many sections will be for some classes, or if classes will run or not, Some new classes don't have one kid sign up for them, and it's like, well, I guess we can try this next year, but no one's, So we'll have a lot of that information.
And SIC is
when
coming up with
Yeah,
that, they're just deciding.
SIC, yeah, well, the kids come up with it, and then we just clean up the,
So like February, March.
yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah, which will be good, because that's when we will really be.
This just gets us thinking about it, just
Yeah.
to think about the goals and how we're doing
It's
it.
what we're, reminder of what we did, what we're doing this year. So
And
that's
you
great.
sent out the whole thing
Last month,
right?
And
So
everybody got the,
if you
last
want-
month we sent out, Pam sent out the full budget last year, or our
But
plan that we submitted.
But yeah, if it's not around or you didn't get it, let me know.
Mark, is there anything else you want to add before you?
Any questions on registration? That's,
Yeah.
I know the details of that.
And were you not gonna address A?
Huh? Oh,
Oh, yeah.
sorry.
Dr.
I just
Taylor's.
did them out of, oh yeah, that's just,
I just wanted to ask him before he left. Thank you, Mark.
Dr. Taylor has come to a lot of meetings and was here, I think, last month. And his really constant message is that he is gonna be spending more time at East to be a support to all of us and to help with some of the issues that have come up that get a little tricky. And he basically said, I'll be a mediator, I'll be like the sounding board. I will make sure that I can help solve problems in-house rather than, trying to find someone else to solve problems, which sometimes works and sometimes doesn't work. He is supporting the bathroom and hallway safety plan. And he says, if it doesn't work, I will have another plan and it will work. So he said that to teachers and everyone went, oh. So he's really just working closely with some of the tricky situations that have been happening, and it's been very supportive, and he's very available. And I guess that's the main message is anyone who has something they want to talk about with him, he will be around.
I know,
And he'll-
maybe you refresh everybody who he is and what his job is.
He is the Chief Executive Officer of School Leadership and Performance. So he's next to the superintendent. And he has a lot of high school and school in general experience. And it seems to me that he always has some very reasonable and helpful things to say. So, but he will be spending more time at East. That's his new role.
And he does have a child that goes there too.
He has a senior who avoids him like the plague.
Alone,
You're not alone,
Yeah.
Marla.
So, yeah, that's it. We're done.
Thank you, thank you. I feel like Mark is right out. Elena, it's okay, Elena, really for me, you talked, she was just kind of curious about social policy, but she did want to say that bathroom plan was going really well and that they haven't had really any big hiccups or anything like that, so she was pleased with how that was going. Lynette asked me to share her report briefly because she also couldn't be here, but she just said Sweethearts will be January 27th from 7 to 9 at the Open Center at the University of Utah. Thank you. Sorry, January 27th from 7 to 9 at the Open Center.
It's the like Union Ballroom.
Yeah, it's up at the
It's
U
pretty.
and parking's free.
Oh, that's
So
nice.
actually, I think PTA is gonna maybe help pay for it.
She did say thank you PTA for paying for a venue.
We got a really good deal.
Thank you.
And we honestly might want to keep on their schedule because they almost have zero availability. And I think just to have another like campus or another location or added interest is a good thing.
We did a bowling thing, the faculty, like 2 Christmases ago, we took everyone up there and did bowling and pizza.
It's great, but the
Families.
availability is really minimal on Friday and Saturdays. And Saturday you get free parking. So I think we want to try and get some things like
For next year.
yesterday, for next year. Yeah, just so we might want to think about it because it's a really good deal.
I will I'll send Lynette an email about that, a reminder. Okay. Let's see. Please let her know if anyone would like chaperone. They learned at the last dance, that the more parents we have that our students know, the easier it was to manage their behavior. And they did have better support last day. So, okay, Spirit Week is coming up. It will be on March 29th, the Friday before spring break. We're trying to make sure everyone knows this so they don't leave on their spring break trips early. Stick around for Spirit. Okay, prom venue. We have 2 pretty promising prom venue options at this point. The fairgrounds at the Union Building concert venue. Just kidding. The fairgrounds and the Union Building concert venue. Sorry. But if anyone has any leads on a good prom venue, that would be about $3,000 to $4,000. We'll put on April 20th. Let her know. Then she just said text with any questions. So hopefully that covers everything that's happening with Student Gov.
I'm sorry, when's from?
April
when is
20th.
April 20th.
20th.
I've got to get this. into my calendar.
Yeah, April 20th. At either the fairgrounds or the Union Building. So, okay. Any questions on that? Moving right along, I feel bad that Sarah left.
Yeah, she had to slip away.
Perfect.
So I'm
Yes,
her
perfect.
mouthpiece, just a little recap. They did teacher appreciation in December, gifted socks and treats to these teachers. And then Kristen Estradas and I in tandem with Roman, our family support rock star, did the Sub for Santa. We were able to help 60 families and it was smooth.
Oh my gosh, and a round of applause, 'cause that is so much.
She wanted me to say that PTA will be providing treats at Sweethearts for freshmen. And there will be a service project the week of Valentine's. Oh, you plug in.
You've got it.
PTA president alike. And we'll also be helping with freshman fair.
Do you know if the treats, like, are those going to be signups? Okay.
And what is freshman?
When is freshman fair?
February.
Oh, it's
Sarah
fast.
just said it's in February. No, she doesn't have a date on her.
But we did have 8th graders that came at the first day and the second day back after the break, and they saw fine arts performances and they went to CTE classes. And it was just us that did it. We brought the kids in from both schools.
Like all 8th graders were
Uh-huh.
invited to come?
Yep.
Oh, that's so awesome.
And we bussed them over. And
That's
they
so
did a
cool.
thing, and yeah, I think there was a lot of good feedback. And really, and then the kids are registering for 9th grade right now. So how
Yeah.
do they know what they want to do?
No,
you
that's
know?
great.
So yeah, it was good. Just forgot to report that.
That's great. Anything else? Okay, great job. Is there anything else that I've missed? Any additional business? Okay, our next meeting will be February 6th at Glendale.
That's not our normal date, right? Usually we're the second Tuesday, so.
I know there's a
PTA meeting on
No, I think I'm on then, guys.
It's the
Oh, yeah,
13th,
just did
I
the wrong-
think.
It's the 13th. No, that's great. It's the 13th. I'm so sorry. Thank you. for
That's so
Just
late.
catching up.
remind us, because we had something wrong in our school calendar too with the place East and Glendale were mixed. They were switched or whatever, so always be watching and help us to stand.
And is that Erin, if there's ever?
Yeah, Erin.
So it's the 13th.
The 13th, yes, thank you so much for catching that. And at Glendale, and everybody just go to the library at Glendale, it's not at that other building that we did last year, it will always be the library.
4:30.
Yes.
So it's always at the library.
Where we met
We're
last
never
time.
going to that.
That's fine.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
At the middle school?
At the middle school upstairs.
Upstairs.
Yeah, okay, I will make, well.
I'll make a motion
Yeah.
to adjourn.
To adjourn. And thanks, Annie, for your notes. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank
Lovely
you
to
all.
be together,
Thank
so
you.
let's get
Yeah.
out.
Safe.
I know, it's true. I know, me too.